So call me crazy, but I don't think OKC is going to make the playoffs this year, and probably not for a few seasons, as they've acquired an obscene amount of draft picks. Westbrook is gone, PG is gone. Don't think Chris Paul is going to be on this team much, well, not into the season or anything. And so, let's talk about this. How is OKC going to navigate the next however many seasons? I mean, there's a chance that we could be feeling the effects of this trade until the mid-2030s. I mean, let's say the Clippers, or not the Clippers, let's say the Thunder end up selecting some great player with the 2026 top 5 protected pick from the Rockets. And Houston, I don't know what they're going to look like 7 years from now, okay? And maybe that's a great player, and then that guy's on the team until like 2040. So, you know, the magnitude of the picks they have is not going to be felt for a really long time, at least for some of them. But anyway, I don't want to go over the little details of every single pick. Basically, between Miami, Houston, and the Clippers, the OKC Thunder are hoping that there's a doomsday scenario for at least one of those teams, right? Whether it's Jimmy Butler's legs fall off, the Rockets are just not that good in the mid-2000s because of age, and eventually the thing's got to come undone, right? Or they're hoping that PG and Kawhi leave, or one of them leaves, or whatever. All of this on top of the fact that OKC has pretty much all of their own picks, so they're going to be relying on themselves to be bad and getting those super high picks, and then between Denver's pick and the fact that the 3 other teams are still good right now, like those will still be extra assets for them. So I'm assuming that with these picks, we're going to see a combination of the picks being used, the picks being traded, and all that stuff, right? And you would think maybe if some star player is available, whether it's Bradley Beal or someone else, I don't know, or it's some guy on like a rookie contract, and for whatever reason, like maybe there's another crazy Porzingis thing, because I really don't know with the NBA. OKC is always going to have an opportunity to strike. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do this for every single potential move. I mean, Bradley Beal's on a 1 year and this team's about to be bad, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to go that route. But maybe in 3 years, if they've put together an okay team, then maybe they could strike on that kind of a thing. I mean, to me, the over-under on star players that OKC acquires from all these picks is probably like 1.5. If they don't end up with at least one top, maybe 12 player at maybe even the midway point of all these picks, then I think that would be kind of a disappointment. But the upside here would suggest through their own picks and trade assets, they could probably end up with 2 or 3 guys once the totality of this is all measured, which again is going to be for quite a long time. But I guess we can move on to just stuff away from the picks now. Number 1, they could get more picks. There's always the idea of taking on other teams' bad money. There's also the idea of potentially getting something for Steven Adams, although I don't think teams are really going to want a solid center making over $20 million a year. You could probably get something for Gallo. Schroeder, maybe something, maybe not something. Could you get a first-round pick for Chris Paul? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't really want to trade for CP unless I was a win-right-now type of a team. But even then, how many teams can really afford the guy? So that's a whole thing. Anyway, if we look at just other players that they have right now and be like, can they buy into any of these guys? I mean, the only one might be Shea, really. And to me, in his prime, Shea can be some 16, 17-point guy who can play in the pick and roll, can make plays in transition, can grab rebounds, be a solid playmaker, maybe one of the better to best perimeter defenders in the league, and probably be an advanced stats darling where his plus minus is beautiful and all that kind of stuff, right? They also have this kid in Darius, either Basley or Baisley, who was apparently really good leading up to his year for college, but then he decided to go overseas, I believe. It was either that or he just pulled a Mitchell Robinson and just kind of trained for a year. And I think as a result, he fell in the draft. And, I don't know, he's like 6'8", can play the 4 spot. He's got a 7-foot wingspan and seems like he has a solid all-around game. I mean, who knows? He could end up sucking, but that's at least someone who they've got for the next 4 seasons to see if he's good. They can, of course, take flyers on young dudes. As far as who those guys are, I don't really know. Could they do what I said the Raptors might do, which is throw a lot of money at, like, Brandon Ingram or something? Well, that depends on a couple dominoes falling their way, but I don't think it's impossible. After this season, they are committed to basically $100 million, and according to RealGM.com, the salary cap is going to be $117 million 2 years from now, which means they would have $17 million in cap space, and if then you could just get off of not much more money than that, then you could actually be in play for throwing a very generous contract at a young restricted free agent, and who knows, you might get him. And I don't really think they should be buying out pretty much anyone, especially Chris Paul, unless Chris was willing to leave a gargantuan amount of money on the table, because it's $120 million, and I don't know exactly the max amount of years that you can stretch a guy out for, but even if it was like a 10-year thing, then that's still $12 million a season, which OKC is not going to want to do at all. So either Chris is going to have to be willing to just not get a lot of his money, or some team's going to have to really want Chris Paul, and I don't know if that's going to happen. Anyway, basically what OKC's got is they've got Shea, a whole bunch of draft picks, and that's pretty much it. Is that a pretty good starting point? Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Because you just look at the amount of picks they have and you're like, there's no way they screw this up. So, this statement has like the next 20 years in the making involved in it, but we'll see what happens.